The first thing she said wasn't hello. It wasn't even my name. She just stood there, hands shaking slightly, eyes not quite meeting mine, and said, "I'm pregnant." And I remember thinking how strange it was that the world didn't stop. The coffee machine behind me kept humming. Someone laughed in the corner. A car passed outside like nothing had changed. But everything had. Then she added, almost like an afterthought, "He left." And I don't know why, but the only thing I said back, the only thing that came out of me in that moment was quiet, simple, almost automatic. It wasn't what she expected. Honestly, it wasn't what I expected either. But it changed everything. Would you have said the same thing? My name is Daniel Reeves. I'm 34 years old, and for the past 6 years, I've been raising my daughter on my own. I live in a small town just outside of Portland, Oregon. Nothing special. Quiet streets, a couple of coffee shops, a park where everyone kind of knows each other without really knowing each other. I work as a high school English teacher, which means most of my days are spent trying to convince teenagers that words matter, even when they think they don't. My mornings are predictable. Wake up before sunrise, make pancakes if my daughter Lily talks me into it, otherwise just toast and eggs. Pack her lunch, check her homework, drive her to school. There's a rhythm to it, a kind of calm repetition that you don't notice until you realize how much you rely on it. Her mom left when Lily was 2. No big dramatic fight, no screaming, just one quiet conversation at the kitchen table, and then a suitcase by the door the next morning. I don't talk about it much. Not because it hurts the way people expect it to, but because it doesn't feel like something that needs explaining anymore. Life just shifted, and I adjusted. So by the time all of this happened, I wasn't looking for anything. Not a relationship, not a change. I had my routines, my responsibilities, and honestly, that felt like enough. I first noticed her on a Tuesday afternoon. It was raining, the kind of steady Oregon rain that doesn't pour but never really stops either. I had just picked Lily up from school, and we stopped by this small cafe we go to sometimes. It's nothing fancy, just a place with warm lighting and a chalkboard menu that hasn't really changed in years. She was sitting alone at a table by the window. Not unusual. People sit alone all the time. But there was something about the way she kept checking her phone. Not casually, not bored scrolling. It was different, like she was waiting for something that wasn't coming. The chair across from her was empty, but not in a normal way. It looked expected, like it wasn't supposed to be empty. I didn't think much of it at first. I ordered our drinks, Lily grabbed a cookie, and we sat down at our usual spot. But I kept noticing her. Not in a deliberate way, just small glances. The way she'd straighten up every time the door opened. The way her shoulders would drop a little each time it wasn't who she was waiting for. After about 20 minutes, Lily leaned closer to me and whispered, "Dad, why does she look like she's about to cry?" Kids notice things adults pretend not to see. I told her I didn't know, because I didn't. We left not long after that, and I figured that would be the end of it. Just one of those small moments you witness and forget. But it wasn't. I saw her again 2 days later. Same cafe, different time, still alone. This time she wasn't checking her phone as much. She just sat there, staring at her cup like she was trying to think her way out of something. And I don't know what it was. Maybe it was Lily's comment stuck in my head. Maybe it was something else. But I found myself watching a little longer than I should have. She looked tired. Not physically, but the kind of tired that sits behind your eyes. I didn't go over. I didn't say anything. That's not who I am. I keep to myself. Always have. But when I left, I caught her looking at me, just for a second. Not in a way that meant anything, just noticing. The third time was different. It was a Saturday morning. Lily was at a friend's house, and I had a rare hour to myself. I went to the cafe, ordered black coffee, and sat near the window. She walked in about 10 minutes later. This time, she hesitated at the door like she wasn't sure she wanted to be there at all. Then she took a breath and walked in anyway. She saw me. I know she did. There was that brief moment of recognition. like when you see someone you don't know but have seen before. She ordered something, then looked around for a place to sit. Every table was taken except the one across from me. She paused. I looked down at my coffee, pretending not to notice, giving her an out if she wanted it. But then I heard her voice. Quiet. Careful. Is this seat taken? I shook my head. No, go ahead. She sat down slowly, like she didn't want to disturb anything. For a few minutes, we didn't talk. Just shared silence. It wasn't uncomfortable exactly, just unfamiliar. Then she said, I think I've seen you here before. I nodded. Yeah, I come here a lot. She gave a small smile. Me too. That was it. That was the conversation. But something about it stayed with me. Over the next couple of weeks, we kept running into each other. Sometimes we'd sit at the same table, sometimes just nod in passing. The conversation stayed simple. Names, eventually. Hers was Emily. She was 29, worked remotely, something in graphic design. She didn't talk about much beyond that, and I didn't push. But there was this quiet understanding that started to build. The kind that doesn't come from big moments, but from small, consistent ones. Shared space, familiar presence. Lily met her once, briefly, and afterward she said, she smiles like she's trying to be okay. I didn't ask what she meant. Then one evening, everything shifted. It was late, later than we usually stayed out. The cafe was nearly empty. Lily was at my sister's house for the night, so I didn't have to rush. Emily was already there when I arrived. But something was different. She looked off, more than usual. I sat down across from her, and for a while, we didn't speak. The silence felt heavier this time. Then she said it. I'm pregnant. Just like that, no lead-up, no explanation. I didn't react right away, not because I didn't hear her, but because I was trying to understand what she needed in that moment. Then she added, barely above a whisper, he left, and that's when I said it. Not something dramatic, not advice, not questions. I just said, okay. She blinked, like she wasn't expecting that. I mean, I added, that's a lot, but okay. She let out this breath she'd probably been holding for days. I thought you'd say something else. Like what? I don't know, something bigger. I shook my head slightly. Sometimes big things don't need big words. She looked at me for a long moment, and for the first time since I'd met her, she didn't look like she was holding something back. That night, she told me everything. Not all at once. Not in a neat story. Just pieces. A relationship that seemed fine until it wasn't. A conversation that turned into silence. A message that never got a reply. And now, this. I didn't try to fix it. Didn't offer solutions. I just listened. Because sometimes that's all someone really needs. After that, things changed. Not dramatically, but enough. We started talking more. Not just small talk, but real things. Fears. Uncertainty. The kind of thoughts you usually keep to yourself. And somewhere along the way, I realized I cared. Not in a sudden, overwhelming way. Just quietly, gradually. Like something growing without you noticing until it's already there. Then came the moment where everything could have gone in a different direction. One evening, we were walking outside the cafe. It had just stopped raining and the air smelled like wet pavement and coffee. She stopped and said, I don't know what I'm doing. I looked at her. You're figuring it out. She shook her head. No, I mean us. That word hung there between us. Us. And that's where I was. Standing on a quiet street, with someone who was carrying more than I could fully understand, and I had a choice to make. Before I tell you what I did next, I want you to comment what you would have done in my place. Because it wasn't simple. It wasn't just about feelings. It was about responsibility. About stepping into something that was already complicated before I was even part of it. I thought about Lily, about the life we'd built, about the risks. And then I thought about Emily, about the way she sat alone that first day, about the way she tried to hold herself together. So I said the only honest thing I could. I'm not trying to replace anything or anyone, I told her. But I'm not walking away either. She didn't say anything right away. I don't need you to have it all figured out, I continued. We can just take it one step at a time. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. She just nodded. And that was it. No dramatic moment, no big declaration. Just a decision. The months that followed weren't perfect. There were hard days, doubts, moments where everything felt uncertain. But there were also small, steady moments that mattered more. Doctor's appointments, quiet dinners, Lily slowly getting used to her, not all at once, but in her own way. And Emily, she changed too. Not completely, not suddenly. But you could see it. The way she carried herself. The way she smiled without forcing it. The night her baby was born, I sat in the waiting room longer than I expected. Not because I wasn't allowed in, but because I wanted to give her space. When the nurse finally came out and said I could go in, I hesitated for a second. Then I walked in. She looked exhausted, but different, lighter somehow. She looked at me and said, "You stayed." I shrugged slightly. I said I would. She smiled. And in that moment, everything felt settled. Not perfect, not easy, but real. Life didn't turn into a movie after that. There were still challenges, still questions about the future, but we built something, slowly, carefully. And maybe that's what matters most. Not the big moments, not the dramatic turning points, but the quiet decisions you make when no one's watching. The ones that don't feel like much at the time, but end up changing everything. If this story meant something to you, go ahead and like the video. It really helps more than you think. And if you want to hear more stories like this, real, quiet moments that stay with you, make sure you subscribe. And I'd really like to hear your thoughts. What would you have done in that moment? I'll see you in the next story.